Hello, everyone, and welcome to Politics Today. I am Kayadoki Kyolu here at Channels Television's global headquarters in Lagos. Well, let's start with an update on the COVID-19 cases in the country at this time. Well, latest information from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, the NCDC, puts the figures at 65. Well, a breakdown of the confirmed cases shows that Lagos now has 44, FCT 11, Ogun 3, Bauchi 2, and Ekiti, Oyo, Edo, Rivers, and Osun have 1 case each. Now, out of the total 65 cases, 61 are described by the NCDC as active, 3 cases discharged, and 1 death recorded. So, amidst Nigeria's fight against the coronavirus, the Apex Court was also busy earlier today. The Supreme Court has again proven that it will be difficult to reverse itself, as it dismissed the application filed by the All Progressives Congress in Zamfara State, seeking a review of its judgment, which sacked the party from government after the 2019 general elections. The APC had asked the Supreme Court to set aside its consequential order that made the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, beneficiary of all elective positions in the state after the elections. But in a lead judgment delivered by Justice Inyang Okoro, the court held that the application is vexatious, frivolous, and a gross abuse of court process. It therefore awarded the cost of 2 million naira to be paid by the applicant to the first and up to the 140th respondent. Well, there was a twist, though, as one of the justices had a dissenting position, saying that it is better to admit an error instead of justifying an error which fails to represent justice. He insisted that the Supreme Court can reverse itself. Now, that's the third of such judgments this year. First with Bayelsa, then Imo, and now Zamfara State.
As I said before the court, that as much as I am bound to accept majority judgment, I prefer the dissenting judgment. And I will recommend anybody in the whole world to go and read that judgment. The Supreme Court of Nigeria cannot be in isolation when the whole world is tilting towards a different form of rigidity that the present Supreme Court is placing on all of us. I am happy to hear the lead judgment saying that this Supreme Court of Nigeria is the most hard-working Supreme Court. I have always said it's a self-inflicted injury.
The Supreme Court was clear that it had the powers to make a consequential order so as to give vent to a judgment it has delivered. It has done so before in the case of APC versus Karfi. The Supreme Court today also reiterated the judgment by Justice Kayode Esho in the case of Arcon number 4 versus Fasasi, that being the last court of the land, its judgment is final for all times, final in the sense of finality, and that no power can alter the judgment.
So that's the latest from the Supreme Court. But that's not all that happened on the nation's political scene. Here's our political roundup.
The federal government has issued fresh guidelines for sailors who may want to dock at Nigeria's seaports after the government detected 6 cases of COVID-19 among crew members in an offshore oil vessel in the country. According to the Minister of Health, no sailor will be allowed to dock in any of the country's seaports except the crew has been on the sea for over 14 days, and members will only be allowed into the country if the crew members test negative for COVID-19.
Precautionary measures are also being taken by the federal government to protect our seaports.
The Ekiti state government believes it's no time to tolerate any recalcitrance or reluctance for markets to close shop as directed by the governor amid the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic across the country. The State Task Force on Enforcement of such orders is starting on a forceful note to evacuate traders at a popular location called Atikanka, occupied by some settlers. The River State office of the NSCDC says it has deployed 250 of its management personnel to join in the response sensitization and to help curtail the spread of the coronavirus in the state. The state commandant, Mr. Mukhtar Lawal, who announced this during a briefing with journalists in the state, says, in line with the directive from the Commandant General of the NSCDC, Abdullahi Gana, 250 personnel have been deployed to the 23 local government areas of River State to help educate the people on the coronavirus pandemic and respond speedily to emergency situations when necessary.
Some of our medical team with ambulances has been stationed at strategic locations in the state for swift response to distress calls. Our operations personnel have since been on vehicular and foot patrol to ensure His Excellency's order on measures to curtail the spread of COVID-19 in the state is carried out to the latter.